Welcome to Warcraft Reloaded, a podcast brought to you by Mash Those Buttons, covering World of Warcraft Classic and its community. I am Bobby, also known as Blazin' Bob, and today we're joined by Ryan, aka The Yip Show. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great. Just fine.
Was that a little weird for you? The first time you've heard the intro music in a bit?
No, didn't play through it all through Discord. Didn't hear anything.
Oh, really?
That might be bad for your recording.
That might be bad for the recording. Oh, boy. Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but we'll fix it in post, I guess. I don't know. Okay, well.
That's what we call the after Comic-Con.
Yes.
Is that where you were? Planet Comic-Con? Is that what I was at?
I was at Planet Comic-Con this whole weekend. This is going to be a weird show, guys. Like, it's not going to be like a normal show. We probably would have just canceled the show this week, but we can't cancel it. We at least would have had to have what we're going to give you today, which is raid progression, because it was big, and we're going to do that, and then we will end the show out finishing off the Algalon tips that we got that just didn't fit in the show last week. So it's literally going to be the show this week, guys, and I apologize. I'm really tired, so Yip's going to carry me, but, it's going to be good. So.
Well, don't worry. Luckily, there isn't too much to talk about because there's only one boss we haven't killed in the entire game of Classic World of Warcraft.
Yep.
On time, and that is 25-man Algalon. Luckily, we had, again, a really, really strong raid week, so we had plenty of time for Algalon. We came in and we one-shot Mimiron on Thursday, right? That was a little crazy.
Was it a one-shot?
One-shot. We straight one-shot Mimiron. It was sloppy. It was definitely like, we're not gonna kill Mimiron. But I think with like 8 of us alive, it fell, and that was pretty exciting.
Well, it's crazy to see. So something I've noticed, like, just, like, since we killed Mimiron the first time, like, in the later phases, we are like a tight knit group of like Navy SEALs. Like, did you ever see that Black Hawk Down? Remember the movie that had like every famous person that was going to be famous 5 years from then in that movie? Okay, well, I just think of that one squadron, the 4 dudes that like moved like in sync with each other,
looking around. And,
that's what it feels like.
That's what that phase comes down to, because it's not that hard. Everyone just needs to not touch fire, kind of stick together roughly so that we can move across the room and then pull the head into a good spot. And honestly, that phase can go on for a while as long as you're keeping assault bots under control. So like, it totally is okay to take your time, but staying together, I think, is a big game changer, and kind of throwing away like kiting fire as a big strategy. Like, Mira probably stays around the edge to make sure like fire doesn't get too close or something, but it's just mayhem. It's just easier to just not get hit as much as you can.
Well, and he's gotten good at that. Like, that's something that like you. So there's a few different fights. We're going to talk about Algalon, but like, it's a few different fights where there's a critical role. And once someone gets really good at it, like, it can really change the whole landscape. And that's what Mira does for us.
It's good and bad. It's good and bad because it makes our kills not replicable if they're missing. Mm-hmm. And like you said, Algalon is another one that is like that, because probably the single most important role on Algalon is star killing.
Yep.
And it's basically one person's job to control those stars and make sure they die at a good time. We are lucky that Buttery, our one of our warlocks, has been doing a great job. He's been there for 10-man kill and the 25-man kill, so pretty important person to have. But now it's about like disseminating that information, making sure other people can do that star killing for us as well too. So we felt pretty confident going into this Algalon. I thought for sure a kill, because last week we were doing like 40%, just kind of going in from 10 man, and there were like a couple of people who hadn't really done the 10 man pulls. So I thought that we had a really, really strong shot going in. And right away, one of our early polls, I think our first poll was at 11:31. And then 11:42, we pulled and got it to 16%. So it was definitely like, okay, we're gonna kill it. We just have to do that again. And then we never got it to phase 2 again in that fight until about 50 minutes in, about like 45 minutes in, we were able to finally get a pull that went well. And yeah, I mean, honestly, we had 3 big bangs, and we only really need to live from the first 2. If you lose a couple people on that third big bang, when things are like a little mayhem, like a little chaotic, and there's mayhem going around, you have DK's like army going into the last phase. They pick up all the ads, and literally nothing else happens. It's like such an easy
it's
phase.
Really a cheat there.
I don't really understand what they were going for. Because we've even done it 10 man where like we didn't have army up, and just taunting the ads was totally fine too. Like there just isn't that much going on. So as long as the tanks stay alive,
because I think
pretty good to go.
Did all of our healers die?
Yeah, so we had really clean big bangs. Like I said, all it really takes is stringing clean big bangs together, and we know what to do. It was just executing it all at the same time. One of the problems we were having was black hole placement was getting kind of annoying. They were getting eaten by constellations, and then like the only one up was really far in the back. So that was a problem that was kind of plaguing us on those pulls. But once we had like an up close black hole for everybody to get into, constellations, we actually, interestingly enough, before we were kind of just having a Holy Paladin hold the constellations, but they weren't working this week. They weren't like they weren't sticking on the Holy Paladin.
Yeah, and she even had Righteous Fury on, like, and it just feels like Righteous Fury has been like hot fixed to not work with healing aggro.
Yeah, it
feels
very
like
odd.
that. Yeah, because we were also trying to we're trying to get our last achievement, the Crazy Cat Lady. Anybody who has tips for that, please send them into the show, because we would love to have that for next week. Because we were trying some different things, but we tried it at 10. We tried it at 10 man with Stoof using Righteous Fury to get the ads, and it just wasn't generating threat. So I wonder if something weird has changed. If anybody knows, let us know.
Yeah, it was really weird and unfortunate that the constellations were running around. So we did have someone taunt off for that last pull that did go cleanly, and it made sure that it was open for somebody, for everyone to go through, and we didn't have any big bang issues there. The sack rotation was like incredibly important, calling out like who was sacking when, and you could really feel if one got missed. People like died almost 100% of the time. If there wasn't at least a shadow aura up, like people were dying to stars.
Well, like, did we start the night kind of like calling it, and then Stoof took the initial? I just saw Stoof write it in chat. It like actually made a set rotation.
We had it already. I think what was helping was Butter started calling it instead of saying like star 2. He started just using that sheet that Stoof had, that we all had. We knew what order we were going in, but we just never know when the stars are dying and what number star it is. It's like not super easy with the way the UI works for the stars. Yeah. So he started calling like whose sack it was. So he'd be like Seb sack, and that just made it a million times easier. So again, on the back of our star killer, we were able to handle Algalon. So once we had those clear big bangs, we went in missing like 2 healers, and I think we ended up really quickly in phase 3. In phase 2 with no healers alive whatsoever, and like it was really chaotic. But there's really nothing going on in the last phase, so we were able to ping pong it back a bit, and he ends the fight at like 3 or 4% instead of 0%.
I think it's 4, yeah.
Yeah, it's like really high. and it just didn't feel real. Like he just stopped moving and then disappeared, and we're like, whoa.
It like feels like the fight reset. You're like, wait,
Yeah,
wait,
it's like
wait,
a
what?
reset.
You're like, no, there's a chest. We did it. There's a chest.
Yeah, so that was super exciting. We finally did it. We didn't really have to change that much. It's just the stars do so much damage, and honestly, the tank damage is out of control. The fact that we can have so much gear from Ulduar, and some of it's boosted eye level, right? Like some of this gear we're wearing is not even the eye level that it would have been originally.
Yep, definitely.
Obviously, these are like pre-nerf fights and stuff like that, so like they are harder. But
it is also post nerf bosses too. So like,
yeah,
we're living in a whole new world. You know,
yeah,
you can't really like
era,
look at it.
But
you know,
without those eye level boosts, Algalon would have hecked me up very much.
Well, and then someone said in chat, they're like, yeah, well, like there had to be one person to poo-poo on our moment there. And somebody was like, yeah, well, you know, when everybody's 237 eye level, like, you know, it gets a lot easier. I was like, well, hold on, I'm 237. I'm pretty sure I'm the highest eye level in the guild. So, no, we're not all 237, you know, like.
Listen, we're server purple parsing, not a mega server. What do you want from us? We're out here competing. We raid 2.5 hours a night. I'm pretty happy with how
I'm hell happy. Yeah, we've been having a good time.
Like everything took. There was never more than like a 2-week gap between progress, so it always felt like pretty good. We were pretty much just like always getting new stuff down. We had like a less aggressive but like very reasonable plan to get everything down. I think it took a little longer than what our original plan was, but yeah, I mean we couldn't be.
Did you guys as officers have like a plan? Like I just didn't like this Ulduar run. So big and so massive and so many different hard modes. I never went in with a plan. Like I just went in like with a like take it like the NFL teams, like week by week, right? Like I didn't like
we definitely
forward.
Adjusted. I think we adjusted based on like XT got nerfed. And then based on like what people were actually clearing. Like Thorum ended up being like a thorn in our side because we had so much melee. It ended up being probably harder than what other people were experiencing in Thorum. So like we definitely ran into issues saying, hey, let's have a stringent plan. But I think for the most part, yeah, like we had a plan of like this is the like easiest to hardest that we should go in. And then like, you know, Flame Leviathan will probably take too long to prog on, so like let's wait to do him. Even if he's supposed to be easier, like let's still wait till we do it in 10 mans. Like so that sort of stuff Harscare puts together. And yeah, I mean it's been a pretty exciting time. Just like continually progressing this long, just week after week after week after week.
It's been the coolest raid, prog for at least me. I don't know if you feel the same, but in the history of Classic so far, this has been the absolute coolest. Like,
yeah, it's been really. Ulduar is a good raid. I'm rating it more than I would want to be rating it. I think the 10-man gearing is a little weird. Like a lot of people are forced to do 10-man, probably too long.
I mean, I'm still like. So I've been doing 10-man on my tank. I don't need anything from 10-man. I haven't needed anything from 10-man in a while. Like there are a couple upgrades I could get, but like literally don't need BIS from 10-man at all, right? For like weeks. But my rogue needs so much shit from 10-man. It's like crazy. You know, and it's that part is a little weird. I kind of wish they had just buffed all the gear by 6 instead of both versus the hard mode by 12. Because like I just feel like that would have been a little bit like steadier, like more steady. But like this, I mean, yeah. Like, and everybody talks about my eye level. It's like lots of my gear is from 10-man hard modes. Like like, and like that's why it's like higher, whereas other people don't really go for that stuff, you know, and they're not doing 10 mans, you know, like so. It's definitely been weird, but I do enjoy the 10-mans, but it's just a lot of raiding.
I like the 10-mans. My thought is just like I'm raiding so much Ulduar, it's hard to like. It's not like I don't enjoy it. The fact that I'm not burnt out on Ulduar with how much we've been raiding it is like a huge sign of how good Ulduar was.
Yep.
If we were only raiding Tuesday and Thursday every weekend, I'd be like, come on, I want to raid Ulduar. Is it time for Ulduar yet again?
Yep.
But because I'm raiding Ulduar 5 to 6 days a week, I just am raiding Ulduar that day. But yeah, I mean, it's been a really good raid, and we did take a victory lap after our 25-man. We went into a nice 10-man with like 4 new people, I think.
I was one of the new people.
Yeah. And we decided to 1 tank, which of course is the superior strategy. 1 tank, 2 heal. And our first pull, we got under 20%, which is awesome, just because of how much damage we were doing. And the fact that stars don't just like one-shot you in 10-man, it's kind of hard to, once you do 25-man a lot, it makes the pacing of 10-man feel a lot better. Healers are less panicked.
It really did.
Healers become less panicked getting everybody up after a star because they know, okay, well, the only other damage coming out is like some arcane barrages. They're not going to get hit with another huge star yet. Let's keep the tanks alive, and then we'll slowly get everyone up for the next star. And then, yeah, second pull, boom, a kill. Our second 10-man Algalon in the guild, 4 new people on our second pull, and we just melted it into the ground. It felt so good after the 25-man kill.
For me, it felt a little like I just fucking got carried there. Like, it's basically what it felt like. I did really good damage. I did do that, but I mean, like, and that's what I said at the end of that kill. I was like, dude, it's really about like the healers, the tanks, the off tank who can, or the off tank DPS who can pull it off. Like, and you and Riley are really good at that. Like the way you do it.
I don't know. We're very good.
Yeah. You guys are like in tune. Right.
I felt bad because we did it one week and it was super easy. And then I suggested you guys try it one time and it just didn't work out at all. And I was like, I don't know. Like it works really well. I think something we learned was like having Mel bubble right beforehand on that taunt. And then just always having any CD, he would pretty much always live. Like even a small CD was enough to live. And it's just so much damage. Like we almost pushed it to 20% before like the second big bang. It was like insane how fast he was getting pushed down. And then once you're in that 20%, like you're basically home free. That big bang is way less scary. Even like, because he'll big bang even if he's under 20%, which was weird. I didn't know he did that. But he does keep big banging. I don't know if it's because like one's queued up or not, or if he always just keeps big banging. But it's like pretty easy. It's pretty easy to handle because there's no stars dying at the same time. You just walk in and walk out and go back to killing him. And then yeah, with we didn't have army up in our 10-man. I just taunted everything and it was still fine. I think the kill was still scrappy. I think all of our Algalon people are like dying toward the end, but he can only really kill one person at a time, and people can spread and do like 4 to 5% damage, it seems like. So as long as you get them from 20% to like 10%, if a tank dies at like 10%, you can eke out a kill barely, maybe. So that it really is getting past those big bangs, getting into that last phase. You're really good to go.
Yeah, for
and
me,
then boost your eye level up. Have BIS gears.
Dude, for me, it was like, it was nuts because like I had to go to bed to like get up for Comic-Con the next day. And like I just had double Algalon kills in a row. Like my 2 first, 25-man, then 10-man right after. And I was just like, I don't even know what's going on right now. But like this is awesome.
Really quickly. Algalon came really quickly. Like it went from like, whoa, Algalon's really hard to a week of like, I think I'm getting how we kill Algalon, to just, okay, we kill Algalon now. And I think the big thing is star killing. I think
it's a huge thing. It's what I pointed out. I was like, can we have Butters like teach that to some people?
Yeah, and then everyone also understanding the star killing too, like healers knowing a star is coming out, people just being prepared for that happening. And then yeah, when they're not overlapping with cosmic smashes in a bad way, you're pretty safe throughout the whole thing in 10-man. So really exciting. Ulduar has been really, really fun. We've been doing a ton of it, and we're making some really good progress in the weekend raid too. So I cannot complain. Our Varg is going strong. We've got a lot of great additions to the weekend raid. We're filling out strong. We had like 6 absences this weekend, and we still got to like 25 for a minute. We went down to 24, but it's like impressive. Like we have a depth of roster. Now we just kind of have to like chisel it strong, kick out some of these ults, and I think we'll be in a really, really strong position.
Yeah, it was like, just, what do you think was the hardest prog we had? I know my answer for sure. But which boss do you think was the hardest prog we had?
The hardest prog we had, I personally found Iron Council to be our hardest prog.
Oh, okay.
Kind of it's weird because it's kind of like a simplistic fight, but we just had to keep going.
Just one person. Person screw, and that one person might be Skeet, 50% of the time, but still. No, I'm kidding. I love Skeet.
I mean, who knows?
He did die a lot in that third phase, but
he swapped to heals for us, so he's allowed to be bad.
Oh, yes, like definitely love him.
If you go off spec, you can be bad. But no other fight was it also like my fault the most too. There's not a lot of fights where it like can be distinctly my fault, but Iron Council has so much tank pulling places, and like I might die. I would like proc Ardent Defender because I left him in the rune too long or something, and it's just like you sit there like, oh dang it, like you make a little mistake like that, and after 3 or 4 hours of raiding, you're like, oh god, please die. Please. So
I think my answer's like samey for that same reason. Like for me it was Mimberon, but it was always because every time I got to phase 3 I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I was like, should I go kill these bots? Should I go kill these bots? Like I feel like I'm just a wet noodle, like worthless. Like, so like, yeah, maybe it just kind of depends on your class, like, and what you're doing.
Mimron felt the helpless I felt the most helpless in it because no one person is messing. It's like the exact opposite of Iron Council because it's like we as a group just need to do better. Like we all need to do better with the fire. Like no one person is messing this up. It's just so insane trying to keep everything together and keep it cool. So it's hard to pinpoint what to fix and like how to make sure the next pull goes better.
Well, you talked about our one shot of Mimberon on Thursday. Yeah, so I started that fight out, dying immediately, and I said to Chad, I was like, "This is not a good start, guys. This is not a good start." I was the only battle res like early on, and I was just like, "Okay, I got like." But the night went on to be so good, so I was happy with that. But like, it was just like, okay, Bob, seriously, don't be the one guy to die.
That was me tonight on Vezix on my Paladin. It's like we finally have the 25th person in, and I just whack them and die. With Righteous Fury on, of course. I whack him once and die. And which means you didn't get tricked enough, first of all. We got 3 roads. I did only hit him once, okay? But it's just like, man, we're dying over and over again. We're using a battle res for the first 5 seconds. It's so disheartening. But hey, we got Vezix down. We're good.
Yeah, and both raids are going good. Like the, what we call the weekend more casual raid, like is getting hard modes down. My Roughneck Rejects, Monday night raid is getting all hard modes down weekly now, except for Mimberon. We still need to work on that.
Which was like us 2 weeks ago. It's like not that bad.
So, I mean, yeah. I mean, the whole guild across the board is just looking good, and we're having a good ass time.
For sure. It's definitely been good. The only thing I'm sad about is that achievements are not phase locked. or else we'd have even more to do. Like we'd feel more urgency to get some of this stuff done.
Yeah, you
But
get
it
like,
just sort of takes the edge off
yep.
without being like, not only do we need a prog, we need to do this and that too. But that's okay. We're not taking it easy, but we are going pretty quick. Our weekday raid is like very close to one nighting minus Algalon. So we're doing good. We're keeping it tight. We're definitely the strongest we've ever been. We're the healthiest we've ever been. We've got 2 full raid teams. Definitely couldn't be happier.
Same. All right, guys, we're gonna send you over to hear some more Algalon tips from some other people. We'll be right back. Now let's move on to Algalon, Big Al, the boss that's breaking guilds, and the boss that, for some reason, so many people who watch too much YouTube seem to think that everybody gets down. But that's not the case. If you just look like last week on just Warlock parses, you're looking at about 60,000 parses on, say, a boss like Ignis, to 12,000 parses on Algalon. So not a ton of people are killing Algalon. Not a ton of classes are getting to go and kill Algalon. So I want to pivot back and actually explain the fight like we did the first 2 today. So let's jump into that. Corpse, you want to walk us through the Algalon fight?
Okay. At a high level, Algalon has not too many mechanics, but every single mechanic he does it does a lot of damage and is therefore very punishing. Algalon overall is just an encounter that is very, 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 very punishing on mistakes. The mechanics themselves aren't terribly hard, but they're just very punishing. So if someone screws up slightly, they're often dead. It makes it a fairly hard fight just because of that. So first mechanic, probably the easiest one, is Cosmic Smash. So on 10-man, he'll put a single red swirly thing under a player's feet, kind of like a Kel'Thuzad Void Zone. And on 25-man, he'll pick 3 people to put that swirly ring under. You need to get about 10 yards away from these. They do fall-off damage, so if you're right in the middle, it'll do lethal damage. If you're farther away, it does less damage.
Corpse,
First,
I want to stop you right there because it's funny that you talk about like Cosmic Smash. So I'm melee, and I'm sure you're going to talk about it, but like melee, we just stand on one side of him, and then when the Cosmic Smash like comes out, we just move to the other leg, right?
Yep.
So I've never been hit with it, but I was watching a video of like Ulduar 10 worst mistakes, and he's showing all these VODs of like all these melee getting thrown into the air, and I was like, oh, so that's what happens if you get hit by it? That's awesome. Sorry to tangent you there, but like I'd literally never seen that. I'm sure it happened to people in ranged, because I know people got hit with Cosmic Smash. I just don't see them behind me, you know, like normally. But I just thought it shoots you way up.
Yeah, we've had people stack on, say, the wrong foot and bait a Cosmic Smash onto where the melee are supposed to go, and so the melee that are switching feet get hit by the other Cosmic Smash. We've had tanks not pay attention, get launched up. We've had melee not move and get launched up.
We've had a lot of melee in my 10-man attempts not move. The 25 attempts were really good for that, but probably just because there's so many more people moving, maybe. And we might have had somebody marked, but I mean, I just move if like if somebody had stayed and like then it did, you know, go on them, I just don't move, or you know, like it's still pretty visible. Like I feel like it's smaller, but it's more visible than the at least for me, than the Kel'Thuzad Void Zone things.
Oh right, where Death and Decay could include that. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. So okay, I did not mean to tangent. I just thought that was hilarious that it just blasts you in the air.
Yeah. So at a high level, when Cosmic Smash comes out, get about 10 yards away from every single one of them. So it's just a single one on 10 men, 3 of them on 25 men. The next like global mechanic is every minute and a half he'll cast Big Bang. You want to go into void zones, black holes on the ground to go to the Shadow Realm, where you'll avoid this damage, except you'll need one person to stay in the normal realm to survive this, and you can't use immunities to survive it. So you need to use a single person with damage reductions, with sufficient damage reductions to survive it. Normal strategies include a Shadow Priest Dispersion and a rogue with cheat death, a sub rogue with cheat death. It hits for about 95,000 damage on 10 men and 130,000 damage on 25. So the Shadow Priest Dispersion sends that to about 10k or so. Makes it easily survivable, and Rogue's cheat death they'll just set the rogue to 10% health. Also, you could use in 10 men a non-subtlety rogue with Glyph of Cloak of Shadows and Feint and Power Word Shield, I think, is minimum required, with maybe some stamina gear.
I believe for all of that, assuming your priest is geared, I think you need somewhere between 23 and 24,000 base health. I think on top of that, Simon Ice told me, dang it, and now I can't remember exactly what, but it was something around there.
Yep. So in 10 men, for a progression kill, I would absolutely just use a subtlety rogue if you don't have a Shadow Priest. Like, Shadow Priest, highest priority to get. Otherwise, use a subtlety rogue if you're going for a progression kill. If you're just farming it and you want better parses, go and use a combat or an assassination rogue. But it's going to be a lot more dangerous from a survivability standpoint. I've also heard, you can also use stacked tank cooldowns, but you really don't want to use them because Algalon hits so hard. The tanks need those cooldowns. And I've also heard that Shaman, Fire Elemental, and Earth Elemental totems can survive it.
I'm assuming a warrior that doesn't have the shield wall glyph. So, like, the shield wall glyph, a lot of us use because it changes it from a 5-minute cooldown to a 3-minute cooldown, but it also changes it from a 60% damage reduction to a 40%. But I bet Last Stand along with shield wall and a shield would probably work with a warrior tank.
So on 10 man, if you have the 60% reduction, that'll be 38,000 damage. If you're adding in defensive stance, it's probably taking 35,000 damage.
And then Last Stand adds more health too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it looks kind of, it's easily in range with just an unglyph shield wall for a prot warrior to live through. Again, you can use tank cooldowns to survive it. It looks kind of out of range for a DPS warrior to do it with just shield wall. Like, he'll need an extra external or so to live through that.
Okay.
Anyway, so every minute and a half, he'll do Big Bang, and so you need one person to live through that every minute and a half. That's why Shadow Priests and Sub Rogues are so good, because a Glyphed Dispersion is less than a minute and a half cooldown. It's minute 15, and Cheat Death is a minute cooldown. So a single Rogue or a single Shadow Priest can each soak every single Big Bang. Aside from that, the other big thing is the collapsing stars. So every so often into the fight, he'll summon a max of 4 collapsing stars. They'll lose 1% of their health per second, and so in a minute and 40 seconds after they spawn, they'll die, and they'll each do a huge portion of rage damage, like 15k, something like, maybe more, to the entire raid. And so you want to stagger their deaths to make the damage not all happen at once, just so you can have time to heal them. So generally the strat is, when the first 4 spawn, you just have all the range, just kill one of them immediately. Let the damage go off, heal it up, then kill a second one immediately. And then there's a weird timing. Algalon will refresh the At about, what is it, a minute 15, minute 25 into the fight, he will refresh the number of collapsing stars up to the maximum of 4. So if you've killed 2 in off the bat, then there will be 2 at low health when he goes to respawn them. He won't respawn the ones that are still alive. He'll just bring up the total number back to 4. So there will be 2 alive. He'll respawn 2 of them just to get to the maximum of 4. And so you get in this nice pattern where every single respawn you're killing another 2 stars. So you kill 2 stars, wait for the respawn, kill 2 more stars, wait for the respawn, kill 2 more stars. I don't think it's terribly different. I might be forgetting something, but that's the general strategy.
These stars, they also have a few other things too, right? Like you need someone to tank them, because if they go into a black hole, they close the black hole.
No.
Is that correct?
No. So that's a different mob.
Oh, okay.
You're thinking of
the constellations.
The ads. Okay.
Yeah.
That clears up a lot for me.
Okay. Yeah. So the collapsing stars are the mobs that spawn the black hole upon death. So that's why you don't have melee on them, is because they will create the black hole on death and suck anyone nearby into the Shadow Realm. Just to repeat, you've at the start of the fight, you kill 1, heal everyone up, kill a second one, heal everyone up, wait and get the third one low-ish. So basically you do like very, very, very light damage on the third one and no damage on the fourth one, just to again stagger their deaths. As soon as you get the respawn, which will spawn 2 fresh ones, you'll have the 2 of them at low health, one lower than the other. You kill the low health one right after the respawn, and you do the same thing with that fourth one, and you just repeat that over and over. So when each collapsing star dies, it'll spawn a black hole. The black hole is what you need your raid members to walk in to avoid the Big Bang. Everyone except that one designated soaker, like that Shadow Priest or Rogue to soak. You want everyone to run into a black hole and avoid the Big Bang. While in the black hole, you just need to move away from where the black hole would be, just so when you get ported back out of the Shadow Realm back to the normal realm, you don't get sucked immediately back in.
Oh, and you can't see those down there either, can
Right.
you? So you kind of need to know where you want to run as you run in. You need to look at where those holes are.
Yep. Take
That's
a mental
good
screenshot.
tip. Ooh,
Take
shit.
a mental screenshot of where the black holes are as you're running in, and pick a location to run to.
Okay, that probably screws a lot of people.
I was doing a 10-man last night on my Resto Shaman and just started freaking out while I was down in the Shadow Realm, because there's those ads down there that they'll follow you and they'll mail you. I was rocket booting around trying to dodge them, came out of the Shadow Realm, immediately back down, then back into panic mode, dodging the Shadow Elementals, ran to a different spot, came out, immediately back down. It was horrible, but yeah, you really need to, like, when you're not in the Shadow Realm, you need to know where they are, because going back into one is likely a death sentence if the mobs catch up to you while you're down there, or if you're an important role, you can't do any cooldown, you can't help the raid at all while you're down there. So
sometimes you can run right in one and ride out, and it doesn't port you. Like, you need to run in and kind of jiggle and shimmy. And then sometimes we did our 25 Algalon, and the black hole got close to the boss, and we learned, like, hey, we need to move it away. If it happens like that, the tank needs to move it away. We learned that, but I'm standing feet away from the black hole, from the edge of it, and all of a sudden I get ported in. Like, and I was like, what just happened? And I look around, and 7 other, basically every melee got ported in, and we went back and clipped it, and we weren't standing in it at all, not even a toe. Like, we were a good deal away from it. So keep your distance. Yeah. Like, it's definitely a little finicky. But yeah, go ahead, Corpse.
Yeah. So yeah, the going into black holes, it happens when you're near the death area of where the collapsing star died, and it's not exactly a bug free piece of software, let's say.
Yeah.
It does when you intentionally walk into the black hole, it can take a few seconds to zone in, and it could even put you in even if you're not close enough. So you just need to give yourself a fair bit of time and to get ported down. Don't try not to leave that for the last second, I guess is what I mean.
Gotcha.
Especially if you have constellations running around. You never, if they're following somebody and they run into a black hole, the constellation will chase them and close that black hole, making it so nobody else can take it. So
does that kill the constellations?
Yep.
Yeah, it'll get rid of the constellation, but it also gets rid of an escape of the Big Bang, right?
So that's where the one person tanking those should be going, like probably the Holy Paladin, right?
Yeah, usually it'll go on one of the healers. The way that we do it, we just have our not Frost Mage. We have our Mage Frost Nova them. As soon as Big Bang starts, he'll throw out the Frost Nova because they're usually pretty grouped up. So Frost Nova, and then everybody runs to their black holes, and that way they're not following somebody and closing a black hole that we don't want closed.
Okay.
You can also use Earthbind Totem, like Ellie Shaman. Any root works, really.
Or AoE stun, which is, I guess, mainly just Shockwave. But you can use a bunch of single target stuns or just any sort of single target CC. So I'm thinking Hammer of Justice, Gouge, stuff like that work. But yeah, to hit on the last mob, not collapsing stars, living constellations will spawn, and they'll accrue healer threat. Just because healers are healing so much here, and they'll just start blasting random people, but following the healers. They hit, I don't know, several thousand, I don't know, 5,000 or 6,000 every couple of seconds. And so generally you want the tank who's not tanking to taunt them, get some aggro, and drag them into a black hole. And so if you drag a constellation into a black hole, it'll delete both the constellation and the black hole. Just going over the entire fight, or at least from these mechanics, the four collapsing stars spawn. You're going to kill 2 of them, wait for the respawns, kill a 3rd one, and then the Big Bang will happen. So you have like 3 black holes before that Big Bang, the first Big Bang. You want to drag constellations into 2 of those holes to close them, just to delete the living constellation so they're no longer blasting your raid members, and use the 3rd one for the raid to escape, to avoid the Big Bang. So generally you have your non-active tank go and have them close the black holes that are not near the raid or the ones that are easy to get to, and you use the Big Bang that is near the raid or harder to get, like harder to close, for your black holes. So if, for example, as tanks have a hard time closing a black hole that's on the exact edge of the room. And so if we have a black hole that's on the edge of the room, we will designate that as the one that we're going to use for our Big Bangs, and then we'll close everything else.
Good deal. Okay, so yeah, then like the end of the fight is 20% like just a burn, like he doesn't do any, like he doesn't do most of the mechanics anymore.
Right. So there's just one more mechanic in place. It's for tanks only. So he has a stacking debuff that is cast every 16 seconds on the current tank, and if that tank gets to 5 stacks of the stacking debuff, he will be ported into the Shadow Realm. So what you're going to do is you're going to taunt before 5.
Phase punch.
Phase punch, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So what I do is I have one of the tanks start off and tank the first 2 stacks. This is strictly just for timing purposes. So I'll have one tank take 2 stacks, and then the other tank will taunt and take, I think it's three phase punches until the Big Bang. Reason for that is if you just have like your first tank go to 4 stacks, it interferes with the fact that you want a tank available to close black holes with the constellations. And so I just have one tank just get his tanking out of the way, and then he can go devote his full time to closing any black holes that are needed. You don't want to like interrupt that job just to have like, oh, we need a tank swap now.
Okay.
Also, Algalon hits very hard, and so just having one tank start off, he can use a bunch of his cooldowns just to live through the first 30 seconds or so. And while he's not tanking going to close black holes, his cooldowns will come back. So yeah, that's the tank job. You're just taunting based on stacks of a debuff. So at 20%, basically every constellation, every collapsing star, every black hole will despawn, and 4 new black holes will spawn around the room. They're in, I don't know if they're in exactly set positions, but they're in a set radius away from the center. So they're midway from the center of the room to the outsides. And if they spawn on you, they will send you down to the Shadow Realm. So what you at that 20% transition, all the black holes will despawn and 4 new ones will spawn. Your raid members want to be on the exact, or more or less on the exact edge of the room or in the center of the room, just so that black holes don't spawn. But yeah, all that stuff despawns. 4 new black holes spawn. 1 dark matter ad is going to come out of each of the black holes. And every, I don't know, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute, there'll be, again, 4 new dark matter ads coming out of those black holes.
Also to add on, like, the collapsing stars disappear as well, so you don't have to worry about that mechanic anymore.
Yep. So generally, I try to make a tank swap happen right before the 20% transition, just so we have a fresh tank who has no phase punch stacks able to start tanking Algalon then, just so that he doesn't get 5 by the end of the fight, so you don't have to do a tank swap during that 20% burn. And so you have one tank solely devoted to Algalon, and then the other tank can solely go and pick up ads and keep them off the healers.
Cool.
The ads can be AoE down. I wouldn't advise it if they'll die eventually. You can use army to also grab aggro on them. But generally the last phase is generally pretty easy. Just if mostly everyone's alive, you can get through it pretty easily because important mechanics are all gone.
Depending on your timing, big banks can still happen.
Yep.
We kill the ads. They don't count towards your parse anymore, but they only have 55k HP. So a couple seeds from the warlocks, and they all just kind of die.
Is that on 10 or 25?
25. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they kind of just fall over, and well, now you have me questioning myself. I don't know. They have relatively low HP pool. I hope I'm not wrong on that, but they do just fall over. Yeah, AoE them down. Well, we AoE them down. You do it either way. If you have a fresh tank, I think that your method is completely fine. Of just having a tank pick them all up. And then army. Yeah, army makes that trivial anyway. So it's just a burn phase anyway. So if you have the DPS for it, you can burn them down. If not, if you're really pushing for it, then yeah, just single target, kill Algalon as fast as you can. I mean, I have a lot of like. I'd like to like run through the fight, start from the start to the end, and there's like little tricks along the way as far as like, as Corp said, when you start the boss, we pre-pot. The first pull, there's like a RP event kind of thing, so you can't really pre-pot as well. What we'll do is we'll just send in a sacrifice to Algalon and have the rest of the raid chill over by Kolgarn, and he'll just go activate it and die. And that's our blood sacrifice to be able to pre-pot.
I saw you guys do that when I watched yours.
Yeah. So do that, and then from there on, we will pre-pot a minute before. We'll do a shadow protection potion. That way we can not use a cooldown for the first collapsing star death. Just makes the healing in the beginning a lot easier. So 60-second pre-pull, pop the shadow pot. And then right before we activate Algalon, we'll pre-pot whatever DPS potions. For tanks, one thing that I was doing that I swapped, I was taking him just straight where you walk in, where the bridge is. That bridge will go away, but the camera angle there, you won't be able to see. It'll move, kind of like the Freya seed, where put your camera like really close. It'll do that where the bridge is. So if you tank them anywhere else in the room, your camera won't really adjust, so you'll be able to see a lot easier when you're watching out for the cosmic smashes and stuff like that. And also the collapsing stars, you want to keep those away from the melee so they're not cleaving them down and you're not getting like a early pop on the star. Because if they line up with like a cosmic smash, then it can be too much for the healers. But yeah, we do it the same way Corpse does. We have all our range, kill the first star, and make sure that the boss gets moved away so the melee aren't getting sucked down into the shadow realm. And then from there, there's really two strats that you could do. There's a lot of strats you could do, but the two main strats that I see are star, collapsing smash, star, collapsing smash, just cosmic smash, back and forth until Big Bang happens, and then you just pick it up again. There's also the strat where you can delay that don't kill any stars in the beginning. At 34 seconds, you can have 3 of your warlocks doom 3 of the stars. It has to be between, playing it safe, 34 to 36 seconds from when combat starts. Because that Big Bang will happen at 1:30 and it'll explode at 1:38. So you do it at 34 seconds, it gives your entire raid 4 seconds to get into the black hole before the 3 stars die and explode. As long as you're all in the black hole, you won't take any of that damage, except for that Disc Priest. So the Shadow Priest. I'm assuming that pretty much every raid has the Shadow Priest for 25 man. But you want to dispersion before those 3 stars go off, and then also the Big Bang right after that. The Shadow Priest will survive. You'll kill off the 3 stars all at once, and nobody will take any damage from them. And then in that scenario, you also kill the 4th star that is up just before the Big Bang. That way, when they respawn, you're respawning all 4 of them, and they'll be all 4 of them will be at full health. And then you can go back to doing 1-on-1, or I'm sure there's another timing window that you could do for the next Big Bang. But I don't know. That strat is very hard to do. It will take practice. You have to have your warlocks have a 2-second window to get dooms up, and you can't do any cleave damage to the stars that are going to die to the dooms. So it's more kind of an advanced strategy, I think. Your tanks really have to be on the ball, moving Algalon away from the stars. None of your casters or none of your DPS can do any damage to them. So if you're learning Algalon, I would suggest doing the 1-on-1 strat. 1 star to 1 cosmic smash, going back and forth, rotating between the 2. Yeah, you do that, get big bang, come out of it, make sure the tank taunts whatever tank is supposed to be tanking the boss at that point. He will drop aggro, so you need to taunt him back. And then just keep cooldowns rolling on whatever tank is currently tanking. We use Shadow Aura Masteries for the first couple of Collapsing Stars, and then we go into DSACs, making sure you're using a cooldown for all of them. If you don't have a cooldown, like if you are running a low amount of pallies or something, in our 10-man last night, we were shadow potting again as our second potion, just to reduce some of that raid-wide damage and to help the healers out. I mean, the fight is mechanically, the fight is just like Corpse said. It's not a hard fight mechanically. It's the fact that all of the mechanics do an insane amount of damage. So you have to actually use the cooldowns. You need to have the gear. They're very. You cannot mess up if somebody dies, it is detrimental to the raid. It becomes a DPS race at like 20%. If you're losing important cooldowns, that will wipe your raid. I also suggest soulstoning your tanks, because if they die, they can come back up. The boss is tauntable, so it's not necessarily a wipe if your tank dies. I think that's all I can think about at the moment. Corpse, you got anything else?
No, not right now. I will say that I looked at logs. The Dark Matters in 10-man, the last phase ads, they have 55k health on 10-man and like 157k health on 25-man. So yeah, very low health. They are AoEable down, should you choose to do so. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the fight. We can start talking tips and tricks for mechanics if you want.
Cool.
All right, so first thing, the Cosmic Smash, the swirly gets put on a single raid member on 10 men and 3 people on 25 men. So just like Bob alluded to earlier in the thing, we put all of our melee on one leg. So we put all of our melee on the left leg, and as soon as Cosmic Smash happens, doesn't matter if you see a Cosmic Smash on the left leg or not. It's very hard to, because there's so many melee. We just have all the melee move over to the right leg. And then I know Bob does this differently. Bob's guild stays on the right leg and just repeats the process from the right leg going over to the left. We have all of our melee move back over to the left leg. It's really two different ways of doing the exact same thing. You want one leg that is completely devoid of anyone, just so that it's a safe spot for Cosmic Smash, and the other leg is where you want all your melee DPS.
Yeah, we just move back and forth. Like we move every time it makes a call. You're saying you don't do that?
So we move to the right leg for Cosmic Smash, and then when Cosmic Smash finishes, like blows up, we will all move back to the left leg. Whereas you waited for the next Cosmic Smash to happen on the right leg, and then you only after that is when you moved over to the left leg.
Gotcha. Yeah, it is. Pets make it a little confusing because they seem to like to stack on the left leg.
Yeah, it's they're two identical strategies for all intents and purposes. As long as you have all of your melee on one leg and you all go to the other leg, then you're fine. One optimization that I will mention here is related to the fact that Holy Pallies actually want to melee this boss for Seal of Wisdom procs. So on 10-man, when there's just a single Cosmic Smash, we have all of our melee DPS on the left leg and our single Holy Pally on the right leg. If the Cosmic Smash is on the right leg, the Holy Pally has to move. No one else does. And if the Cosmic Smash is on the left leg, well, the Holy Pally doesn't have to move from the right leg, so the melee will move over from the left to the right. It's just a way to get the Holy Pally in melee range, meleeing the boss without having to move with all the other melee. So they have to move significantly less frequently than the other melee. And so it's a little bit of a tiny optimization just for a single Holy Pally on 10 man. That does not work on 25 man because there are 3 Cosmic Smashes, and you can have, if you do that, you could have a Cosmic Smash on each of the left and right legs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your Holy Pallies have to stay with the melee if they want to do that. It also helps if you, or if you're having an issue with people dying to Cosmic Smash and melee, just mark somebody who can talk on Discord. And I know Thames makes a noise, but just have them call out right leg, left leg, right leg, left leg. And people tend to, people tend to do better when they can just follow a green marker or a star or something on their head. I don't know.
Cool. Anything else?
Going back to what Free said earlier about the before a Big Bang, you'll want to CC the remaining constellations just so they don't follow someone into the black hole and close it preemptively before all of your raiders are in there. So yeah, Frost Nova, Shockwave, or an Elemental Shaman's Earthbind Totem are your three best options. I guess you can also use knockbacks.
Yeah, Typhoon yeah.
Yep, or Blast Wave or something like that. Yeah.
I would only use those in emergency though, because if they fly into a black hole, you're going to shoot them out. If there's another black hole that somebody else is running to and that thing lands in there, they're not going to be happy. So.
Oh yeah. Okay. So that reminded me of one other thing. Well before a Big Bang, we will designate which black hole we are going into as a raid. So all raid members will go into one designated black hole. It's not, this one black hole is closer for these range and we're all going to take the other one, that's closer to melee. It's no, everyone is tanking one single black hole, just so we know, the constellations are going to be going towards that black hole. So we need to see them there just so that no one dies from that. Otherwise, you'll have constellations going to different black holes, and you could preemptively close them.
Okay, yeah, that's what we started to do too. Is just I'll take one of them, and they called it out which one we're going to do. It's usually the one closest to the melee was the one we were doing.
Yep. So we are calling it out well in advance of the Big Bang. So it's not like Big Bang starting to happen and the raid leader calls out, let's move into this one on Algalon's left side. No, that's too late. We'll call out like 10, 20, 30 seconds in advance, like, hey, we're going to use this one for black hole or for Big Bang. And that's also a notice to the tank who's trying to close them that he can close the other ones and leave that designated black hole alone.
Okay, good deal. All right, well, do we have anything else?
Okay, so yeah, so for tanks closing the black holes with constellations, I think they abide by more or less normal threat. It's really hard to keep aggro off of the healers for those. I guess that may be just because healers are doing so much healing. But generally, you just want to taunt them and drag them over, maybe do some threat abilities on them. Prot Warriors specifically can put vigilance on the other tank, and so their taunt cooldown will be perpetually reset. So you can just literally spam taunt on a constellation or even multiple constellations to drag them with you on a field trip.
Well,
Death Grip works as well. Yep. So on Paladins, you have 2 taunts, one of which is a multi-target taunt. Druids are the worst at this. They only have a single taunt and pretty crappy range threat. DKs have 1 normal taunt and a Death Grip, as well as the Icy Touch, which does an absurd amount of threat. And Prot Warriors have Vigilance, which allows them to spam taunt on constellations.
That's typically where I'm burning my rocket boots as a tank. When I'm probably, I think Corpse, you are as well. Yeah. I do my AoE taunt on whatever healer has all 3, because usually it's all on the same person. And then I'll just rocket boot around the room and close out however many I can close. depending on how many are up. We do it different. Our raid actually we don't close very many of the black holes. If there's a lot of them out, then we'll go close them. But we just heal through their damage, and we don't even interrupt them very much, honestly. Our healers probably hate us. I don't know. Can't really think of much more. Yeah,
I think that's it.
Yeah.
That was a lot. So I mean, it's good. It's good. Lots of food for thought. I'm gonna have to actually go through and listen again. So it's a lot of information, but useful. Well, that's
one thing I will say overall is just the entire fight is fairly well choreographed. If you are doing the killing the collapsing star strategy, the 1x1 strategy, most of the difficulty of the fight is just it's associated with how well you're timing the collapsing star deaths. Since you want to time the collapsing star deaths with your aura masteries or your D-Secs, and so you have small windows of trying to coordinate it when they're dying with when your paladins are casting their cooldowns. And if those get out of sync, people are going to die a lot more frequently. And if someone is low due to a cosmic smash that did an unreal amount of damage to them, they can easily die if a black hole explosion happens. Also, it's just because he hits tanks so hard, just Algalon's normal melee damage can combine with a collapsing star explosion and kill them outright with that. So tanks will need to have like a healthy amount of CDs rolling. Preferably use one for every collapsing star explosion.
I mean, this is the fight that it's like you want to be wearing the tankiest stuff that you got. You know, as much health and as much avoidance mitigation as you could possibly get. Use whatever glyphs that you can to maximize your tankiness. Like Algalon's got hands, and he hits very, very hard.
He's got two of them, dual wielding.
Yes, and actually, one thing that I noticed, I don't know if you've ever seen this corpse, but similar to Steelbreaker, when he uses his fusion punch, and if you're moving him, it'll sometimes target like a pet or somebody else that's nearby. Algalon actually does that as well with his quantum strike, I think, because we have a rogue that keeps getting killed in my raid.
Okay,
because we'll be moving it away from a star or something that's about to collapse in melee range, and the rogue will just fall over dead and go back through the logs, and it's like, oh, you got quantum striked, and I don't think that's supposed to happen, but it does. So
okay.
Yeah.
One other thing that I remembered is, so after the big bang goes off and all of your raid members are being ported up from the shadow realm to the normal realm, the tank who's going to be tanking will need to taunt. So a lot of people are the obvious play is just to get right on Algalon and press taunt. I don't like to do that. I like standing at range and taunting just so that Algalon has a little bit of run time to get to me. Running to the black hole and getting sent down to the shadow realm will do. Yes, the shadow realm does like a dot, and then there are adds underneath it that hit you, so it does a fair amount of damage to the raid. Just letting Algalon run to the tank will give healers a little bit more time just to stabilize the raid's health.
That's a good call.
Those shadow protection potions that I mentioned, they're dirt cheap. I think it's like 2 eternal lives. In phase 1, near the end of phase 1, I think I made our guild about 3,000 of them. Just stuck them in our guild bank. They're sitting in mailboxes, and I put them in like an open GBank tab where anybody can take them out. I make sure everybody has 20 every time we go into Ulduar. those will help you a lot for pre-pot. And if you're really struggling with the gravity or with the collapsing stars, using those as a second pot is no joke as well. Also, if you are having issues healing everybody up after a star death, divine hymns from both your disc priest and your shadow priest, using health stones in unison, that will help as well. To a lesser extent, tranquilities, like basically if you have a collapsing star without a DSAC or an aura mastery, then that's the time to use hymns, tranquility, pots, hellstones. Do whatever you can to mitigate that damage, because the healers are having a hard enough time keeping your tank up. They're going to need all the help you can get if you're progressing on this.
One other thing I remembered is when all of your raid members are going into the black holes to avoid the Big Bang, with the exception of your Shadow Priest or your Rogue soaking, all of the living constellations will attack their only remaining target in the Shadow Priest or the Rogue. And again, those blasts do like 6k damage or something, I mean, fairly high every cast, which is like 2 or 3 seconds long. So if you're trying to min-max as a Shadow Priest and you disperse late, you could have been chunked down to the point where you will die to the Big Bang. So you want to disperse early at a high enough health, just so that your 6 seconds of dispersion will last through a lot of those constellation damage things and the Big Bang. Similarly, for a Rogue, if you just press nothing and just rely on cheat death to save you, it'll save you from the Big Bang, but not the subsequent constellation damage. And so rogues will need to preemptively pop Cloak of Shadows to avoid any constellation damage after the Big Bang. You can also interrupt them, but note that Cloak of Shadows and everything, damage reduction, like damage that you take, is calculated when the spell finishes casting, not when it arrives at your character's body. And so if a constellation is casting on you and the travel time is 2 seconds, 2 seconds before it hit you, the damage would have been calculated. So you need to pop Cloak well in advance of the Big Bang actually going off, just so that you don't get chunked by the constellations after the Big Bang hits.
Man, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for all of that, tips and tricks, breaking down the fight. That was freaking awesome. Thank you guys.
Yeah, no problem.
And we're back. Thank you, Corpse and Free, for those tips. We're going to end out the show, guys. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at WC Reloaded. You can follow the Mash Those Buttons Network at the Mash Network. If you want to send us an email, do so at wcrpodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to interact with the host of this show or any show on the Mash Network, it's mash.gg/Discord. Help us out with ratings and reviews on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. I'm tired, guys. I've walked literally like the amount of steps I walked at Planet Comic-Con. Shout out to Planet Comic-Con. It's crazy. We've got to get out of here, though. Yip, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitch and YouTube at The Yip Show, and Twitter. That one, too. Twitch, YouTube, Twitter. I streamed a little bit. Crazy.
You did? You streamed a raid?
I streamed a raid. Horrible experience. Hate doing that. I streamed some Diablo as a cat, a little VTuber cat. That was fun. But with no Dark and Darker, my heart just isn't in it. So we got another month or so.
So wait, you hated? Wait,
No, it's fine. But it's just like I'm trying to raid.
Yeah, like yeah, just like put up a thing that says, "Sorry, Chad, I'm not going to talk to you." Like,
I know, but it's who cares? Just like you're just thinking, and it's just like, is it working still? Okay, like it's just there's always just something else. But yeah, no, it wasn't bad. But yeah, check me out. Get out of here, everyone.
All right. And you can find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. You can find me on Twitch and the show usually live. This is the first time it hasn't been live in a long time, but that's at twitch.tv/BlazinBob. Let's get out of here. Good night, guys. We beat Ulduar.
We beat the game. Game's
Feels
over.
good.
Seeing
Feels
Kata.
good. Yep.
No,
Feels good. Oh, seeing Canada. No. All right, guys. I'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much for checking out Warcraft Reloaded podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any future content.